A hearing scheduled for Carly Gregg. The young teenager is accused of murdering her mother and trying to murder her stepfather. This is one of two hearings she's got this week. This one today is expected to focus on her competency. It starts at 10 a.m. We'll go there together live. And we've got the murder trial of former politician Robert Tellis resuming in Las Vegas today. Prosecutors are expecting to rest their case. Court's going to convene at 1:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Our team is there. We're going to start things off now, my friends, with our top story, and that is the new details and new reaction we're learning this morning in Matthew Perry's death investigation. 5 people facing federal charges in connection to the overdose death of the Friends star. Perry found face down in his hot tub at his LA home in October of 2023. The arrests have released some key details about the star's final day, so let's take a look together. Here's a timeline we put together for you. On September 30th, Perry and his live-in personal assistant, Kenneth Iwamasa, met with Dr. Salvador Plasencia to get more ketamine. Now, Plasencia texted a doctor friend that he knew and even instructed his personal assistant on how to give the ketamine shots to Perry. Now, fast forward, about a month later, October 27th, his assistant gives Perry 6 shots of ketamine in one day. Dr. Plasencia was out of touch for a couple of weeks and would be texting Perry's personal assistant saying that he had more to offer. Quote, "I know you mentioned taking a break. I have been stocking up," end quote. On Perry's final day, October 28th, Iwamasa gave Perry his 3rd and final injection. He reportedly remembers Perry saying, "Shoot me up with a big one."
This network included a live-in assistant, various go-betweens, 2 medical doctors, and a major source of drug supply known as, quote, the ketamine queen. These defendants took advantage of Mr. Perry's addiction issues to enrich themselves. They knew what they were doing was wrong. They knew what they were doing was risking great danger to Mr. Perry, but they did it anyways.
Now we're learning that the Friends creators even asked Perry if he wanted to leave the show during his addiction struggles. Perry said no, that it was way too important for him. Marta Kaufman, one of the creators, says that she was in contact with him just a couple of weeks before he died, saying that he seemed to be good. I have 2 great guests I want to bring in right now and talk more about how someone struggling so badly with addiction was taken advantage of. I want to bring in former criminal defense attorney Kirk Nurmi, famously represented Jodi Arias and saved her life, and retired FBI special agent, the host of the podcast Break the Case with Jen Coffindaffer, firearms expert as well. She is Jen Coffindaffer on the show as well. Good morning to you both. Oh, let's start with the magnitude of this investigation, if we can, please. There were always, folks speculating that perhaps charges would be brought. And then when we get this news, it was kind of stunning news that 5 people were charged here. Agent Coffindaffer, would you kind of walk us through what does it take to get that kind of an investigation off the ground? As we're talking about a drug delivery resulting in death. These cases aren't easy to build, as you know. So kind of walk us through how we got here, if you would, please.
What I really appreciate is the federal authorities got a hold of this case, and this isn't a normal case for them to really get a hold of. Normally, they concentrate on the large-scale suppliers and huge distributors, but they had the evidence here. They had the text messages. They were able to build this somewhat elaborate conspiracy involving these 5 individuals, and it needed to be done. Listen, ketamine is taking the lives of so many people. And in addition to that, they need to shut down people like the ketamine queen and these doctors who are completely turning against their Hippocratic oaths. And they're not only preying upon Matthew Perry, I can guarantee their clientele list far exceeds that. I think we're going to find that out. And kudos to federal law enforcement for taking on this case.
Isn't that the truth, Agent? Thank you for that. I have a clip I want to play for you both. This is from that press conference when the DOJ announced the charges. Let's take a look together now.
The defendants in this case knew what they were doing was wrong. When they'd refer to the ketamine, they used coded language. They'd refer to it using terms such as, quote, Dr. Pepper, or, quote, bots. or quote, cans. Also, defendants Placencia and Chavez, as medical doctors, knew full well this was not the proper way to administer ketamine, and they even talked about that in their exchanges. And defendant Sonia also knew that she was doing something that caused great risk to Mr. Perry.
Attorney Kirk Nurmi, want to ask you about something that I'm sure you encountered many times throughout your lengthy career, the ugliness of the drug business. Would you speak to that, please?
Yeah, you know, Julie, in this case, it may seem a little disturbing in the sense that it's not that street corner drug deal. But really, let's face it, Julie, the only difference between these distributors is that they have MD behind their name. That's it. They are running the same sort of drug operation as any other. And the one thing that makes this a little easier, I think, for federal authorities, and this is the good news in this regard, obviously, is that there's going to be a lot of payments traced electronically, right? It's not going to be that cash in hand kind of deal that we might think about when we talk about drugs like this. We're talking about a major operation. There's going to be electronic fund transfers, and as Jennifer referenced, I really believe that there's going to be more to it than this. The ketamine queen did not earn her nickname just for Matthew Perry. I'm sure that there's going to be more. I know we've had a couple defendants turn, so it's going to be, I think this could be a huge opening in terms of the distribution of these sort of drugs.
I think you're exactly right, Attorney Kirk Nurmi. Thank you for that point. As I was thinking about this, it just was somewhat of a refresher in what I remember thinking when I was a prosecutor, and it is just an ugly, ugly, nasty, filthy business where people don't matter, people's lives don't matter. I think that's what's so disgusting to me, and here you have somebody vulnerable, and it's all about preying upon somebody vulnerable. Jennifer Coffindeffer, I want to go back to you, please. Would you speak to that, some of what you've seen over the years in cases like this one, please?
You know, Julie, you bring it home so well. First of all, Matthew Perry was spending approximately $55,000 monthly on his habit and was being injected 6 to 8 times a day. We've seen photos of the transformation of Matthew Perry from what he looked like before his addiction started to spiral and after. And you can see when you see addicts in person, it is so sad to see how physically and mentally they are affected. And over the years, watching these addicts that are preyed upon, and I understand it's a decision, but they're not able to make the decision when this is a true disease of addiction. So, Julie, it's horrible to see people with medical degrees take advantage of someone like Matthew Perry.
Exactly, Jen. Thank you for that. We know that with these 5 defendants, authorities announced that 3 of them have made plea agreements already. So we have one of the doctors, we have the street dealer, and we have the assistant, all agreeing to plead for what they were culpable for in this death investigation with respect to Matthew Perry. 2 of them, one of the doctors and the ketamine queen, have chosen not to take the plea offer from the government and are choosing to go to trial. They've got trial dates set for October. They're both looking at effectively life if they're convicted. Those are the penalties. The ketamine queen, the penalty is life, and 120 years would be the penalty for the doctor if they're convicted of everything they've been accused of. Kirk, what do you think we will see? Do you think we're going to see these 2 go to trial? And if they do you think they're going to get launched for life? How do you foresee this playing out?
Well, you know, I think the real tell here is going to be that electronic footprint and how much evidence they really have. I know they're going to be able to afford the best of lawyers, and they're going to be looking at all the case, all the evidence, all the angles that they can possibly explore in order to fight these charges. But with this footprint, I don't know that they're going to be very successful. So we don't know whether they declined a plea agreement because it wasn't a very good one, or because the hubris of the doctors, they believe that there's no way they should go to prison, right? They don't view themselves as criminal. That can really be a factor in this, Julie. As strange as it sounds, a lot of people don't view themselves as a criminal, so they're not going to take a plea. They're going to force a court to convict them and put that label on them. So, but you know, the other issue is there more? Is there more? Do these other defendants have more evidence on other people? Because I say it's hard to believe to me that this network, if you will, was only 5 people, and that Matthew Perry was the only victim of this kind of mindset of exploiting addiction.
Ooh, I love that question, Kirk. You know, and especially with the ketamine queen, with respect to her, because I would think if agents can squeeze her a bit for what she knows, she's on the street allegedly dealing all sorts of illegal substances, according to what federal officials have said. So perhaps if she has more people she will give up, maybe there could be a resolution and some perhaps leniency for her, not that she deserves it. But Kirk, it is important. And, you know, when we think about Matthew Perry's legacy, wanting to help people, if we can get more of these people off the street, that is certainly a help. Great points from you both. We'll leave it there for now. Kirk Nurmi, Jennifer Coffindeffer, stand by, please. We're going to hit our first break. When we return, we're going to talk about the mystery surrounding a young cheerleader's death and injuries.
Now, I don't want to sit up here and tell y'all these injuries happened this way, and I find out that they happened a different way.
The girl died, and we know that her parents tried treating her life-threatening injuries with smoothies. Yeah, that's right, smoothies. And we're going to talk about how prosecutors don't want Bryan Kohberger to get a change of venue for his homicide trial. Stand by. Opening statements rolls on right after this. Was a reporter brutally murdered for digging too deep?
His death was absolutely devastating.
The suspect, the former politician and subject of the victim's story on corruption.
Can you tell us anything?
Now will Robert Tellez go from elected official to convicted killer?
Once all the evidence comes out, it'll be clear as day.
Is it possible that bad press is a motive for murder?
The investigative reporter murder trial. Live coverage today on Court TV.
Now for what's trending in true crime, a Texas couple finds themselves in the headlines this morning after the death of their 12-year-old daughter, whose life-threatening injuries were treated with smoothies. Police say Miranda Sips, a junior high cheerleader, was pronounced dead hours after first responders arrived to find her unconscious. Investigators believe that Sips suffered severe injuries, including injuries to her neck, 4 days before she died. Her mother and her stepfather, according to police, failed to seek medical attention in a timely fashion and instead tried to treat their 12-year-old daughter with vitamin-packed smoothies while the girl was still alive but non-responsive.
I will not, at this point in time, go into the injuries, detail on the injuries or how they happened, because I'm not 100% sure. Now, I don't want to sit up here and tell y'all these injuries happened this way, and I find out that they happened a different way. So we're going to get to the bottom of it before we address how the injuries occurred. But as to how the injuries occurred exactly, you know, we still have a little bit of doubt. We need to figure that out before I'm standing up here and say, yes, it happened this way. We know what she told us.
Okay, and by saying she, the sheriff is referring to Sips's mother and what she told police. So let's talk about your reaction to this case. What do you think about it? I want to welcome in my power panel now. Still with me, retired criminal defense attorney Kirk Nurmi. I want to welcome in law enforcement expert Sonny Slaughter and psychology expert Dr. Sue Kornbluth. Good morning to you all. This is a stunning case, to say the least. And there's so many unanswered questions, right? How she was injured, what these injuries were in particular, but just hearing her neck, that she has a neck injury and she's given smoothies. Sonny Slaughter, would you start us off? Your thoughts, please.
Good morning, Julie, and my entire amazing panel. I'm glad to be back. This case is very disturbing, as you said. It is painful to think that parents would not immediately go and take care of a child that even seemed injured and in pain and distress. But I agree with the law enforcement expert, because as law enforcement professionals, they should not ever go out and make assumptions without facts. So evidence and facts matter. Having a delay about what caused the injuries is really important, so we don't speculate, because you can't come back later and try to clean it up. So I think it's really critical for them to do the work that they need to make a determination as to what exactly happened with this particular child. And this case is just inflaming no matter what happened, that parents didn't respond.
It sure is. You're so right, Sonny. You're so right. I agree with all of that. Thank you for that. I've got a clip. This is going to inflame all of you more. And Dr. Sue, especially you, you're a parenting expert. I'm going to come to you on the other side of this one. This is the sheriff talking about mom. Take a listen to what he says mom's reaction was to all of this.
He didn't show any kind of remorse so far.
A little bit, maybe.
Mom, not really. Not like a regular parent or mother.
No, not like you or I or any of us probably would. The mother, as my investigator said, not really at all. The stepdad did exhibit some remorse.
Not really at all. Dr. Sue, your thoughts? What's going on here, please?
I mean, is this very surprising to me that she didn't have remorse? Absolutely not. Look, I think in these kinds of cases where we're dealing with a history of welfare checks, let's remember this, that she is probably trying to cover up her own behaviors here. Again, we don't know what happened, but I'm suspicious about the mother, and that the mother did cause these injuries to the daughter. Now, when somebody doesn't have remorse, Julie, and what we think first, right, is she's a sociopath, because that's the symptom that goes along without having any remorse. But as a mother myself, and my child was injured, I would be crying. I would show signs of fear and anxiety and compassion, and not having any remorse, right, does kind of point the finger that something suspicious is really going on here.
Definitely. Dr. Sue, thank you for all of that. Kirk Nurmi, your reaction when you heard about this case, you heard about the allegations with the parents and the age of this child. What did you think, please?
Yeah, it's shockingly disturbing, right? And you pose the question, what were they thinking? And of course they weren't, right? So what it leads me to speculate is two different things. We talked about addiction as it related to Matthew Perry last segment. I'm wondering if there's some addiction issues. These are the kind that maybe don't make the headlines, maybe they got away with for years, because that kind of thinking would maybe perhaps be the thinking of an addict. The other supposition, of course, is what has been raised, is the specter of these other injuries. Were they actually trying to cover up their child abuse in a way that it wouldn't be detected with these vitamin smoothies, I guess? So those are some, and of course it could be a combination thereof. But I think that's probably ultimately what we're going to see is dealing with here, that as we peel this onion back, we're going to see that unfortunately this child was probably a victim of abuse at the hands of drug-addicted parents.
That's a really great thought, Kirk, that this might have been what's behind that. As we know, so much is being kept under wraps as this investigation unfolds. But I think I appreciate you saying what I think a lot of us were thinking. You have to wonder. You have to wonder how someone's judgment could be so impaired, so as not to get this child medical attention. And we don't know, again, the particular injuries. You heard the sheriff in that clip that we played moments ago saying they're holding that back. So we don't know exactly what led up to her death, but Sheriff David Soward, like many of us, wonder why the parents waited to seek help.
Just for the sake of argument, throw out how the injuries occurred. Throw that out the window. You still have a duty as a parent to provide medical care for a 12-year-old child. And that's what we're talking about right here. We're not talking about them assaulting the child, trying to kill the child, or anything like that. We're talking about them failing to act and get that 12-year-old girl medical attention like she should have gotten.
Okay, now, according to police, Miranda Sips experienced a trauma to her neck, but was only able to flutter her eyes and move her hands before eventually dying from her injuries. The child's mother released on $200,000 bond. On Thursday, that's when she bonded out. Stepdad still in custody. Both are facing a top count of causing serious injury to a child. That's a first-degree felony. Okay, so it seems like what the sheriff was clarifying there seems like he wasn't blaming them for the injury itself, just the lack of care after the fact and what they did after the fact that may have exacerbated this or failed to help remedy whatever was going on here. So our question, could those failures point to more guilt here? Is there more to this story? Let's bring back in our power panel. Sunny Slaughter, I want to go back to you, please. Your thoughts on what we may see come here?
I think, based on the way the sheriff was talking and even his response, he seemed very disturbed that the parents did not do what they should have done, and that is seek immediate medical attention. I think that we're going to see severe allegations and that this could lead to more guilt and charges with these particular parents.
Right, Sunny. Dr. Sue, to you next, please. Your thoughts.
I think, the sheriff said it right in one of his press conferences when he said that the basic job of a parent, right, Julie, is to protect their child from harm. And they did not do that in this situation, no matter how those injuries came. They did not seek out medical help right away. Instead, they tried to treat this young, beautiful young girl with smoothies and vitamins. I mean, it just violates, to me, what a parent's job is to take their child to a hospital and get them evaluated. There are people that don't believe in traditional medicine, but something doesn't smell right to me here. And giving a smoothie with vitamins to help someone that's fluttering their eyes is definitely not the way to help a child and protect them.
No, certainly not, Dr. Sue. I keep thinking about, you hope this child wasn't in an enormous amount of pain, but who knows? I mean, with a neck injury, I can't imagine. I would just think it's probably safe to assume that she was in a tremendous amount of pain. Kirk Nurmi, would you take us home here, please? How do you see this case playing out and what more may be forthcoming in the way of charges for these parents?
I think it's interesting, Julie, that the stepfather's in custody and the mother's not. And one of the things that I say that's interesting is because ultimately then they have leverage over him. Someone who is in custody is more likely to talk, more likely to cut a deal they want out. Maybe they'll get their bond reduced, maybe the charges, what have you. So it's a real possibility here, depending on what's going on, that maybe if they can get one of these parents to talk, they can get more information exactly what was going on. Because some of these injuries, if she's a cheerleader, they might be difficult to discern how they were taken in. So getting one parent to talk could be a key in this case, Julie.
That's right. That's right. Excellent points you just made there, Kirk. Thank you for all of that. And I know we have to say goodbye to you, but thank you for your expertise, Kirk Nurmi. Always a pleasure. Dr. Sue and Sunny are going to stay with us. And it is Members Only Monday, in case you forgot, my friends. And I want to share with you what our armchair attorneys are saying about the smoothie on our exclusive YouTube page. Here we go. Erica says, quote, would they be thinking smoothies and vitamins or any sort of medical treatment if one of them were the one with injuries? They either weren't thinking at all or they were thinking only of protecting their own behinds at the child's expense. Erica, I love what you are saying. Preach. And True Crime and Wine couple says, quote, if the reason is to cover up abuse, this is even more heinous. Oh boy, couldn't agree with you both more. I love those comments. Keep them coming. Keep them coming. Please join our conversation. If you want to join in on it, just go check out Court TV on YouTube. Just click join. Members get exclusive perks, including exclusive live